It's worth playing twice, right? Rob Gilio, how are you? Welcome to our ninth episode of my Fit Family Force Power Hour.
Doing well, thank you. How are you doing, Lucy?
I'm doing fabulous. Once again, the Fit Family Force Power Hour is a summer learning series that we put together for moms, dads, teens, and seniors who are interested in maybe teaming up or, increasing their health literacy to see how they can better take care of themselves, and maybe be better prepared to take care of their family members or make a difference in the community together. So we come together on a weekly basis, Thursday afternoons. I'm based here in Tucson, Arizona. My partner in crime, Dr. Rob Gilio, is in Pennsylvania, although temporarily in Minnesota.
That's
Right?
Now, that's right. And just to remind folks, the Force for Health, we protect the gift, and the gift is the gift of our health, something we've inherited or been nurtured with, something that's natural, but also it involves all the things in the community that help make us healthy. And that kind of leads into today's first segment, I think, in terms of how to protect the gift in an equitable way with different disparity groups. Um,
Yeah, let's just go ahead and just do a quick preview. So today, September 15th, is actually the very first day of Hispanic Heritage Month. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Our second segment will be coaching tips. And my partner, Dr. Rob Gilio, has literally just gone through surgery and is in post-op right now. And he took it upon himself to create some lessons learned tips. So these are coaching tips for both patients and families of patients going through. While he was going through there, he wanted to give a special highlight to somebody that just made his stay a little bit more pleasant. Miss May from Mayo, right? And then we're going to spend the last part of today looking back at a reality health based type of STEAM team, like real live action of activating citizens and teens to pull together and come through a tragedy such as Katrina. August 28th was the anniversary of Katrina, of course, one of the worst disasters that ever hit the United States. And Rob was there, and we were going to go ahead and spend some time reflecting on that and coming through that horrific event. But before we kind of go up there, Rob, and before we kind of come into Healthy Hispanic Heritage Month,
okay.
what are your words of wisdom right now? I mean, it's September 18th. I mean, it's September 15th. You are a few weeks post-op, but people are kind of leaning into school. People are kind of getting back into the groove. COVID is hopefully transitioning out of our lives. But what are some executive reflections right now for our family leaders and, school leaders as we lean back into the season of education?
I think socialization is going to be very important. These kids have been isolated, and now they begin to re-socialize again. And it's going to be kind of hard to reestablish some of those old relationships. I think in doing so, there's going to be some mix of paranoia and pageantry, I think, in terms of dealing with COVID. Um, we've got brainwashed people and to try and be I see my screen's freezing. I apologize for the broadband or whatever. But I think we've trained people to wash hands, cover their cough, wear a mask if they've been exposed or if there's a known exposure. I think some degree of logic going into this school year has you using those universal precautions, no matter what, with or without COVID. Washing your hands and covering your cough is just a courtesy to yourself to not take infections from a surface and putting them on your face, because your eyes, your nose, your mouth is still where you can contaminate yourself. And secondly, so not touching your face, washing your hands becomes important. I think also being prepared to be academically behind, being very sensitive that these students have lost track. Many have not been reading or keeping up with their academics. Some kids have had the opportunity to really keep up being online, and then others with no access have fallen maybe even a year behind. So to really be sensitive about mentoring and being kind, I think that's what it comes down to. Everyone's under stress. Just be kind and patient with each other. That's my main reflection for today.
Whether you're a mom, a dad, a teen, or a senior, right? Those
Yeah.
tips kind of ring through. Expect some type of delayed, what were you calling it? Delayed learning, or just people are coming out of a cave, I feel, for the
Yeah,
last two years.
re-socialization is challenging. It's anxiety provoking. It's stressful. I've gotten very comfortable using COVID as an excuse for not getting together sometimes with people. Um, I'd rather not have dinner with this couple or go to that event. And COVID became a convenient excuse. I mean, even church, all these kinds of things. Sometimes it's just easier to stay home. And now to re-socialize, especially when I'm recovering from an isolating illness, where you're kind of just in bed most of the time for days at a time, re-socializing does take an effort, and it is stressful. So being kind again and being patient with people and really I often say, be aware, care enough about what you've observed that with your awareness, then share what you can to make someone feel better. And I think it comes right down to that, to the old folks or the young folks. Be aware of the stresses people are under and care
Be
enough
aware,
to
make sure you care,
care, and then share
and make
what you
sure you
can with
share.
them. And you'll
Right.
see in our fourth segment today, prepare is another part of that. But I can only rhyme so much because, as I've said before, I'm a poet. I didn't know it, but I only can do like those 4 stanzas or whatever it is, 4 rhyming words.
Well, okay, so great. So be kind, and then make sure that you care, be aware, and share. And so, kind of with those topics in mind, we want to be aware of some of the issues that address an individual's ability to be healthy, right? Social determinants of health, that's something that we talk about all the time, and really is at the basis of these STEAM teams. And our efforts here is to have individuals and group leaders, whether you're a business leader, a civic leader, a family leader, a community leader, you're either an individual or you're a leader, right? To really understand the concept of social determinants of health. And Rob, why don't you take give the audience a very overview definition of social determinants of health?
Well, you notice in the reality health games up there, we use the word real health. What are the things that determine real health? Probably 20 or 30% is your healthcare system and your interaction with it. The other 70% can include things such as your genetics, which you really can't control, but then things such as the way you live within your community, how you are cared for, what mental support you have, your access to care. Can you drive and get to a doctor's appointment, for instance, or for that matter? Do you have access? Access is a key word to healthcare, to food, to transportation. Do you have the money or the resources so you're not deciding between medicine and food or between food and tuition? Can you get access to education? And can you get access to a career or a job that can pay you enough that income does not become a factor getting in the way of your health? So the social determinants are those things in the community that really deal with your access to things that keep you healthy, places to walk and exercise, good healthy food you can afford, as well as the health care that comes along. And then once you have that, can you make the right decisions within whatever environment you're in? That becomes a behavioral health aspect. That's part of what we try and encourage with the actions inside of reality health games.
Yep. I was surprised to know that the stat that the CDC uses in terms of an individual's responsibility and decision to be healthy was really just a small piece of the pie when it comes to their ability to seek healthfulness, right? I think it was like 36% was really what the number is that they use, which is very interesting. And it kind of ties into, our next a topic, and as we celebrate September as National Hispanic Heritage Month. There is a tremendous resource out on the net. One of the best I've actually found, called Salute America, with Dr. Amelie Ramirez. She's out of the University of Texas, Austin, and or San Antonio, and she has tremendous content. She makes it for she and her department. They are the leading resource provider for information on Hispanic health. And we went ahead and actually created a little journey badge opportunity. We took 5 of those videos. They're about 3 or 4 minutes each. And the hypothesis is like, wow, I wonder if everybody would be a little bit more empathetic if you are not Hispanic, or if you are Hispanic, just understanding some of the conditions that lay in the environment that can impact and influence health. So I want to go ahead and bring up one of those and just show you an example. So this is on the Force for Health, and we've got our Hispanic basics, and we've got these videos down here. So I'm just going to go ahead and play Healthy Weight.
Half of Latinas are overweight or obese before becoming pregnant, and most gain unhealthy weight while pregnant and don't exercise due to lack of social support and cultural beliefs that emphasize rest. Obese Latina moms give birth to kids who are 1.8 times as likely to become obese. But Latino parents are more likely to provide formula, prop up bottles for infants, and introduce solid foods early, all of which can contribute to unhealthy weight gain in kids. Almost half of Latino infants watch at least 25 minutes of TV a day and are less likely than white infants to get proper tummy time activity. If moms exercise during pregnancy, kids are less likely to be overweight or obese. One program that provided expectant Latinas with prenatal counseling led to 90% of babies being born at a healthy weight. Hospitals that push breastfeeding over formula, and workplaces that offer paid maternity leave, pumping stations, and break time increase the likelihood Latina moms start and continue to breastfeed. Early childcare settings can add healthy foods and physical activities that can contribute to healthier weights in kids. We need your help in building a culture of health where it's easy for Latina mothers to raise their children at a healthy weight by kindergarten and beyond. Visit our website to take action.
I just love those videos. I think that they are done in a way that is speaks to the 3rd grader, the 5th grader, with the animation and the simplicity of it. But she also always includes call to action, and then she also includes policy and advocacy steps in there. So thank you, Dr. Amelie Ramirez. You are a rock star, and Salute America, you guys are doing a fabulous job. So if you are wanting to celebrate and earn a badge with us celebrating Healthy Hispanic Heritage Month, I urge you to visit our site, and we will go ahead and put the link in here on this broadcast. Rob, any comments about, and these will actually also be available on our site in Spanish and English starting tomorrow.
Lucy, speaking of our site, just a quick question. Right below my picture that I'm seeing on the screen, I see a QR code. What's that for?
So the Force for Health Network is a mixed media platform, like a social media network that's combined with a learning management system. So you can actually go on, create a free membership that will give you a profile and then the ability to start earning points and perhaps be eligible for badges and prizes in the Reality Health Games, which again will officially kick off on October 1st. So if you put your phone up to that and you click over to it, you can sign up for a new membership and join the Force for Health, right?
Okay, and so then they'd be able to, in the academy, access the course you're referring to.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yep.
I think
So it's not just a show that we're watching, or not just a website that we'll send you to. We're actually pulling you in and perhaps providing tools and resources, and then gamifying that engagement. And then ultimately, Rob, I'm going to prove to you that My Healthy Arizona is going to be more engaged with low cost and free content while we move, learn, serve, and earn our way towards a championship.
We'll try and follow your lead up here with My Healthy Pennsylvania. Just one thing, as you're talking to adults during this, Hispanic week, and I'm not a Hispanic adult, but I would be part of your audience as the father in the family, and also as a co-owner of a business. And something I just learned inside of that video is that me, as an older white guy, business owner, limiting or providing time and a location for breastfeeding. If I don't provide that, I might be part of the problem with childhood obesity in the Hispanic community. That's an eye opener. So these videos are for everybody. That's the point. And that awareness, being aware of that problem, really caring about, it's going to cost all of society a fortune if we have a lot of obese kids, let alone the pain and suffering of those kids. Because diabetes, heart disease, and cancer will follow 20, 30 years out, and it's going to cost our kids a fortune health-wise. So I care. I'm aware of it now. I care about it. Now, if I had the ability, or if I had that issue in my company, I need to make sure we have the appropriate policies. It won't cost me that much to provide the time and location.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because that's why I think that these videos are genius. They are simple, and they speak to both the student, the family member, the policymakers, the business leaders, right?
Yeah.
All in one 3-4 minute video. So I'm so glad that you brought that up.
Thank you.
So we're going to go ahead and go into our second segment here with coaching tips, but we'll be right back after a quick word from some of our strategic partners.
Dailies is the leading educational success platform that provides families with the resources they need to help their children succeed. Through live personalized classes with certified educators, rich daily reports, and 24/7 academic support, we provide you with a personalized learning solution designed specifically to help your child surpass their academic goals. We offer supplementary learning experiences through Dailies Pods and a full comprehensive homeschool option through Dailies School. Unlock personalized learning for your child with Dailies.
Alrighty, so we are back on our second segment that we like to call coaching tips. Now, coaching tips, some people think about athletics, right? Basketball, football, or even, getting in shape. Well, getting in shape sometimes has to do with getting ready for surgery or coming out of surgery, right? One of these, I didn't use never mind. I had another graphic I was going to pull up and pull to you. But as I bring this up, if you've been following along, you'll know that my partner has just come out of a pretty serious surgery. That if you really want to see, there's actually a course called Getting Ready for Surgery, where he goes into detail exactly what his issue was. And then as he was coming, and what he wanted to do is actually make sure that he kind of knew what to do to be best prepared. And you're talking about a Mayo trained physician still taking that proactive step in making sure that your family knows. Really, you're talking about team sport, right? This whole pre and post care is really a family team sport.
Yeah, so I'm kind of approaching it as if you challenge me kind of to be the coach. And part of the coach, I'm the coach player, at least pre-op, where I didn't want to be that person that, God forbid, I died without a will, or that had to put my wife and children in a horrible situation with an advance directive that wasn't in place, or perhaps leave them with 800 different websites and things that are subscriptions online or something that don't have the right passwords, so they can't record their favorite video, or for that matter, pay the electric bill anymore, or find where the money's hidden, or the life insurance. So kind of going through the thought processes of what I need to do to kind of get my mind relaxed so I'm ready for and psyched up for the game, get all this other stuff compartmentalized and kind of put in a little Tupperware type container um, in my brain, but also on my laptop, things that I wanted to do for my family pre-op, and then focusing on things I need when I show up at the hospital, questions for the doctor or the nurse, my list of medicines, um, trying to make the best decision for what surgery to have with my team. And even things like the opinion of the other doctors I saw, which I had trouble understanding their opinion, and bringing with the outside x-rays and scans and discs that were requested of me. So I made a pre-op. Then post-op, I felt awful. And I spent minutes and hours dealing with some post-op pain. Some of the time went by very quickly, but as the time went by more slowly, I'm kind of a problem solver. And I looked up and said, oh man, there's got to be a better way than this. As I kind of was going through it, and I found the things that were done well and the things that were not done so well. And I've been kind of quickly doing a little selfie trying to record them. And that's this post-op tips, lessons learned from Dr. Rob's surgery. I'm still in the process of making one right now. I'm 14, 15 pills a day, and some of them are 4 times a day, and then others are 4 times a day, but not at the same 4 times. So I'm on medicines every 3 hours. How do I manage that? How do I not
And again,
make
that's with
mistakes?
you and your wife being
Yeah.
probably what I would call an A, like somewhere between the 90 and 100 percentile of health literacy and knowledge,
Oh,
right?
we've
And you
we've
still found it challenging and
oh
needed
we've
to kind
we've
of
made
organize.
we've made 3 medication errors that I'm aware of, that we've caught. I've modified my way of doing it a couple different ways. I'm actually making a video now about managing medications as one of them. I'm not done with it yet because I'm still trying to give the best answer that I've learned from the various ways I'm doing it. But I guess the bottom line is you can learn a lot post-op, and you can learn a lot. I want people that are going to be post-op to learn some things, like dealing with a dry mouth. I found a product that my medicines made my mouth dry. I could barely move, but one spray of this medication, whew, it did the diff. It let me fall back asleep in peace, as opposed to with cotton mouth, that type of thing. But really, the team part of it is eliciting and involving members of your family, um, or your care team, your paid professionals or volunteers, to really do a good job and not hurt you, but help you, and feel like they were part of the team and feel empowered that they were doing the right thing, where they could intervene because they were thinking straight. They weren't on a lot of strong pain medicines. So it's a team sport. I could go on. I don't know, Lucy. I may.
Well, what I love about this is that instead of picking up a notepad and writing it down for your knowledge, maybe your wife could look at it, right, to help. But you
Yeah.
took the time and you actually created this digital course so that I call it course challenge,
Yeah.
a learn it challenge. But this is type of information that could be shared digitally, and you can really provide helpful information to those that are going to be around you, because maybe there's going to be times when you won't be able to guide them through certain things, and it would just be nice to know that my family went through
Yeah.
getting ready for surgery basics with Dr. Rob, so at least they're qualified in that little bit of comfort level, right?
You know,
That's what I really like about what you did.
thank you. And I hope other people's families maybe get a laugh out of it. Some people that know me will say, I can't believe he did that. Look at his hair. Or what, you slurring his words or whatever.
Well, let's go ahead and give an example of this. Here's just a couple pictures of, I think you have 20 or 21 short videos, and this was just post-op. I just threw a couple examples here: caution zone in the kitchen, the shower. One that I really liked that you did, because a lot of people don't think about this until it's too late, is
On day 14, I looked back on how the previous week in the Airbnb were, and it was rough. And we found that one thing we needed to do was rent some comfort. Otherwise, the medication need was overwhelming and the discomfort was horrible. Made this little video here on day 14, looking back on the week. See what you can learn from it. Bottom line is get comfortable. Notice it's a rental chair. It helps recline, support neck, support back, and lift me for standing up, especially with my wife weighing about half what I weigh. It was very helpful. It's covered with a sheet, and it's a little bit of a mess because I took this when my wife wasn't around, straightening it up and making sure I didn't have fall hazards. See what you can learn from the video. It's day 14, and Dr. Rob has a couple more lessons learned, some of them the hard way, some the easy way. First of all, this is a rental chair that did not come with the Airbnb. The Airbnb has these chairs that are low, and if you have a bad back, there's nothing to sit against. It also has an electronics thing, which lets it recline and also helps lift you out. It costs $190 for a month or a day, depending on what level of you needed it. It was $190, but it's the best investment I made. Having a chair nearby for your electronics, you don't have to jump up. For the TV or the phone or the computer, if you're able to do that, or for your medications or your neck wrap, or maybe a lab desk. A blanket nearby, I just dropped it on the floor. I usually don't keep it on the floor. And then sandals, you don't want to slip on the floor. Okay, comfort. I found myself sleeping in this chair 90% of the time post back surgery. I could not get comfortable in the bed with these damn long rods in my back. I couldn't roll because it hurt my shoulders too much. Comfort is everything. The more comfortable you are with your gear, the less you have to use drugs. All right, that's today's lesson. Rent the comfort if you don't have it. And notice there also looked like there was a little pillowcase hanging. In that pillowcase was a thin ice pack, and it was a nice place to put it between the clothing on my back and the chair, gently pushing against it with my weight. It was a wonderful way of dealing with the comfort sometimes. Also a heating pad. With the heating pad, don't ever put it between you and the chair. Lay it on top of you. Sometimes they get too hot and the heat gets trapped and you can get burned, especially where they've cut nerves and you can't feel the temperature. All right. I hope these tips are helpful. If in doubt, see what you can rent. This was a chair. There's another story about a toilet seat and another about a shower chair, if you keep watching these videos. Thanks for trying to be a force for help for yourself, and especially thanks for trying to help others that are post-op and you're stuck caring for them.
So again, what a great tip, because I think that many people don't think about that. They assume that the couch or the bed will suffice, and then they're stuck post-op, frantically reacting as opposed to being pleasantly prepared, right?
Yeah, I mean, how many times have you reached with good health, have you reached for that lever on someone's recliner chair in their basement, the one with the cup holder in it? And to pull that lever to get the legs down or reclines quickly, man, that would have been horrible. So that's the thing. But the main thing, I had a very specific surgery, but there's other tools for other surgeries that could be utilized. But the main point here is by managing your comfort with the mechanical things you could do, reduce the need for the as needed, or PRN it's called, narcotic pain medicine. So I'm on some strong narcotics, and I'm on dramatically reduce the amount of need for those, the more comfort I can get just with the physical, mechanical bolstering of a pillow or a pillow under the legs or using a chair like that.
I want to show just one more because I think that this is super important also. I learned something. This actually happened to my mother-in-law when she was visiting me. She wasn't even post-op. It just was something that I didn't realize a toilet would do. So let's go ahead and show this.
Hi, I'm about day 20 after my surgery, and I've got a little more energy today. So I thought I'd share a little video I shot. Let's just call it toilet treachery. The number one thing you don't want to do is faint on the toilet or fall. And fainting involves a topic that's a little embarrassing, but sometimes when you're on new medicines, when you have low blood pressure, if you grunt down too hard, it's called the Valsalva maneuver, you'll reduce your blood pressure, the return of the blood to your heart, your blood pressure will drop and you might faint. A second thing is when you're off balance, and you need to be sometimes to clean yourself, cleaning from the front or getting assistance is better than falling off the toilet. A third thing to check in that toilet is that that seat is attached so that it doesn't move when you move. And the cheaper plastic seats sometimes do that. So make sure someone checks that it's attached and it's really firm. Oftentimes when it's cleaned, it can just pop right off. Let's watch this little movie that shows two other things you may not have thought of. Although the bathroom was not en suite, it's literally 4 steps down the hall to a nice facility. The throw rug has a tendency to be a little bit slidey. And there are some issues. And one of the issues was the toilet was normal, but the patient needed help being able to be lifted up higher. So renting a facility that looks something like this, where the legs are adjustable, lets you have a raised toilet seat for one person that literally can be moved out of the way for another person if you're sharing it. And there's a bucket that fits underneath there if you needed it as a bedside commode. That was a great suggestion by the occupational therapist. Here's the problem about toilets I want you to be aware of. So as one sits and uses the facility, like I'm doing as a cameraman right now, and I faint, fall to the floor, there's no way anyone's going to get in. So this hinge is hinged on the wrong side and should open out into the hallway. It seems like simple things, but things to think about. Don't lock the door when you're in the restroom in case you need help. It's the most likely place for you to slip and fall, especially as you're getting your strength back and arising off the toilet or cleansing yourself or drying yourself, etc., getting out of the shower. Watch for another video about power in the shower so that you can reduce your risk of falling. Okay, Dr. Rob with some lessons learned post-op. Sorry about the topic, but I hope you don't hurt yourself. Thanks for trying to be a force for health for yourself or for others.
So again, reality health is reality health, right? It's making sure that you are being prepared and being prevented. And even when you are completely and totally prepared and knowledgeable, things still happen.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, they do. You know, just one thing, point of interest with this is conversations. One of the occupational therapists noticed me talking and doing videos and asked me to put together a memo for the surgical committee about some tips pre and post-op for occupational therapy for her department. So when you're part of a team and you're expressing your opinions, people are interested in the feedback. Oftentimes, all you get after the hospitalization is a survey of, was the doctor kind to you and how was the food? Feel free to share your opinions of an experience back. And some of these tips literally went to the OT department for sharing with the surgical committee as well, not just for the family members. But
we had one more thing that I wanted to include. I'm not sure if I'll play the full video here, but when you are being cared for, it was nice that you actually gave recognition to, I think she wasn't even a nurse. She was maybe one of the housekeeping folks there. Maybe I'll play the first couple minutes of this, just because I want people to see you at like day 4. Right?
Go. In this video made on day 4 post-op, I misspoke and said my favorite patient. I meant to say my favorite professional at the beginning. The video speaks for itself. And all I can say is thank you to May and all the other people in housekeeping and some of the jobs that really don't get much attention or gratitude expressed to them. But May, you made the biggest difference for me on that day of feeling okay about myself and that I was going to get better and that everyone who was taking care of me cared about me. I wasn't just a task in room 8488 at St. Mary's Hospital in Rochester, Minnesota.
So far, my favorite patient in the hospital there, I'm fixing my hair for you, okay? I'm glad you like that now. It was a woman whose last name I didn't catch. Her name was May. I happened to make more of a mess in the bathroom than I would have liked to, but I really couldn't control things properly. And I couldn't bend to clean things as well as I'd like to. And I couldn't empty the trash bin into the hallway trash bin as I would have if I was less sick. I barely made my way back to bed. She comes in about an hour later, does a routine thing to say, housekeeping. I said, what's your name? She said, my name's May. I think she's from originally from another country. We didn't engage in much conversation. But she approached me and she said, is there anything I can get for you before I start cleaning your room? As she is cleaning her hands. And then when I said no, that I was okay, I was just to try and rest and close my eyes a bit. I watched her as she cleaned. And she got on her hands and knees, put on gloves, scrubbed the wall around the toilet, scrubbed away the gloves, washed her hands, scrubbed the sink, washed her hands, grabbed the mop, and then cleaned the floor, washed her hands, and then worked on some of the other surfaces in the room. And then when she saw that I needed some additional water, she stated that because she's been cleaning the room, she'd rather have the nurse bring that in. And she arranged and someone brought in some possible drinking water for me. Polite, professional, competent. And you know what? She didn't make me feel like some homeless slob because the bathroom wasn't in great shape after I used it. It was beyond my control. But she didn't make me feel bad. She showed me respect. She showed me attention. And she's my force for health hero today. I think on day 4 of my hospitalization, that's for sure. I'm going to find out her name and write her a note or something. But I thanked her. But I think it's important to show gratitude to those that do the littlest things for you, it seems, that meant so much to me. And similarly, to do those little things for someone shows so much respect, and to do without intimidating or belittling them. I was proud to be taken care of by May at the Mayo Clinic. Thank you.
She helped me maintain my dignity. And again, gave me hope to keep trying to improve what I'm doing, even if I'm not doing it as well as I could as I'm recovering. Thank you, May, and others out there that show dignity. And I challenge all the rest of us, show gratitude back. The little things make the biggest difference sometimes as a force for health.
I wanted to show that. I mean, it's just such a nice reminder that compassionate care matters. Small things matter. Dignity, respect. You said it perfectly. I'll wait to get the transcript off this, and then we'll go kind of post those pieces right there. It was really good.
You're very kind. I think it's attitude and gratitude. It gives me great joy to show some gratitude back. Somehow indirectly, this will get to May, I'm sure, to go to her supervisor. I don't need her last name out there for the world to know, her boss to know, and she'll know. Deep down inside, she'll know, I may just be a housekeeper. I may be cleaning someone's mess off the floor, but I help this patient be more empowered to ask for help, or to try harder, or to not feel embarrassed. And so it's and it's not just in healthcare, it's in everything, is that the little kindnesses you can do with the right attitude of kindness and compassion, and then sharing gratitude back, a thank you, letting someone know you recognize that that's what happened. It's good all around. But thank you, May, and all the people. You know, Lucy, I'm sorry, I just could take one more sentence here. When I got admitted at 5:30 in the morning, the gentleman admitting me downstairs to make sure I was at the right place at the right time to go upstairs to get surgery. You know, he knew he was talking to someone who was going to have a major, major surgery. And he was polite and kind and patient as you're getting out your cards and all the things at the registration desk. And said, well, try and have a good day and good luck with your recovery. You know, it's the only time he knows he's ever going to see me in his life. But he knows he's got those 3 minutes to make it pleasant, or to make it just one more person he's processing that morning. Everybody, you know, it's not just the nurse at the bedside or the doctor, the respiratory therapist. It's everyone in the system can do the kindest, greatest things.
It reminds me of the program that we worked on, or the project that we worked on for the last few years for Ohio Medicaid, right? The MedEquity Health, that the whole foundation of that project was because the infant mortality rates were the highest in Cuyahoga County, because African American brown skin babies are more likely to be affected by infant mortality rates. And if you don't know what an infant mortality rate is, that's the rate at which babies reach their first birthday or not. That's something that I learned. And whether or not, and so we put together this content, augmented reality, virtual reality, and then put it all on a learning management system. And then with like smooth jazz playing behind, we delivered it up to the person behind the desk, the doctors, the nurses, the person that's taking a parking ticket, just to see if they could catch themselves being implicitly biased. Are they treating somebody that looks one way differently than somebody that looks another way? So your honor to May is just a reminder that everybody commands and deserves respect, especially in a healthcare setting, regardless of, you know, status, economic status. Everybody is a human first and foremost, and to command the respect from those first line care was really great to remind everybody of. So thank you.
And everyone should be able to give gratitude and not just say, well, it's their job. You don't have to thank them for it.
Yeah. Well, you know, let's segue into the last segment. You know, I've been watching this fascinating movie on Apple TV. It's called 5 Days at Memorial. And Rob, I've got to get it to you some way, somehow. You got to be able to watch this. It tells a story about what happened at Memorial Hospital, which for 5 days sat with no electricity, fully flooded, totally abandoned by their corporate partners, totally abandoned by the government, and just how those frontline workers stayed, gave compassion, and were just in a situation that were unimaginable, right? Mm-hmm. And then I go back to my partner and say, wow, he was there, you know, after being involved with 9/11, Homeland Security tapped you on the shoulder and said, hey, Rob, can you help us out in Katrina aftermath, right? So I pulled up a couple of these slides. And when we talk about reality health and like STEAM teams in action, right? Science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, but, you know, students taking extraordinary advanced measures alongside, you know, social thought leaders engaged in advocacy that matters. This was STEAM teams in real live action, right? So walk us through some of these things. I know you wrote a book, and of course we digitize that content so that it can be shared globally. But
globally for free on the just join Force for Health as a basic member of that QR code, and we'll get it to you. You'll have it to look at. Yeah, I think there you have a couple of slides here, Lucy. Let's just stick with that first slide for a second.
Sure.
Notice the size of that hurricane. And if you look carefully at that map, it reaches almost to Florida and almost to Mexico. It fills the Gulf of Mexico. You see a beach there, and it's like all devoid. And then there's a little brown line at the edge of the beach. That brown line is that pile of debris, what you see in the picture just above the word Force for Health there. And then you see between that line and the beach is nothing but debris like that. Next slide. Some before and after pictures are kind of shown here, and it's just the ones with the before, like he's holding up. Afterwards, it's just blown off the foundation. Here's a house off the foundation. The picture of this church shows that only from the roof up is it maintained. The hurricane or the wave, 22 feet of wave, tidal swell, blew right through it. This is in Mississippi, near Long Beach, in Pas Christian. Next slide. So, I'm sorry. Okay, go to the next slide. We kind of explained this one already.
Sure.
These are students. And on that fire truck were a bunch of students. It's a long story, but the short version is a group of kids in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, at a high school came together and decided they were going to throw a prom for the kids in Long Beach, whose school was pretty much interrupted, and their football season and senior year was interrupted. Here's one of the students walking on what used to be their house. You can see how the flooring was. The house is totally gone into that debris field. But the kids, when they were down there, in addition to throwing this prom, as a team, they've been planning it with one of their teachers for quite a while. They put together this, they went and helped clean out these houses. And eventually, this is about a year later, the picture with the woman and the daughter, my daughter Amy, in front of the refrigerator. That woman's house was totally restored, with the students starting the restoration project. That was, so 2 STEAM projects here. One was cleaning out the housing and debris. A second one was providing a prom and a party for the students. That's Mississippi. Go to the next slide. Could teenagers come together somewhere else? Or they sure did here at Cohen High School and at the local YMCA, with middle school and high school kids coming together. These kids here are high school kids that were part of the Steps to a Healthier New Orleans program that became Force for Health partners, and we took over the training with them to have them become more health literate. And one of the things they did is they created an evacuation plan for themselves that was utilized in Hurricane Rita for their families. That was one of their STEAM projects. Another was they made the 311 and 211 commercials for on television to encourage people to call if they needed extra help with original music they composed. And thirdly, they put together a health fair where you have a senior in high school here doing the screenings that a school nurse would have been doing in a more normal time. Next slide. As part of this whole program was health literacy. So here you have some children hearing their heartbeat for the very first time in the picture on the upper right. It's one of my favorite moments in medicine, was enabling that student, watching her face as she listened to her heartbeat. A second aspect here was the big brother taking care of the little brother while the parents were unavailable, let us just say, living with the grandparents. So this child was always with the older brother at school. And this is at Saturday at our Force for Health, where they're learning here in the bottom picture how to take their pulses. And then they, as they gave a public talk, recruiting the other students to make a disaster plan for themselves. So in this situation, the teenagers stepped up to help stabilize their family and stabilize their communities in a couple different ways. I was very proud to work with the students of that Garden District of New Orleans post-Katrina.
And the genesis of Student Health Force or Force for Health had to do with that phase, right?
Yeah, what's interesting for me to taught me a lot about social determinants is, I lived in a suburban environment up north, and I built some really cool stuff around the computer for my own kids, my daughters growing up. And as I went down to Katrina at this time, um, part of what happened was I tried to introduce this down there, and they said that isn't relevant because well, for instance, in this neighborhood we were in, there's no place you could buy tobacco. There's no place you could buy fresh food. They were interested in safe housing. They were interested in how to get medicines for their grandmother. Um, and we kind of started rebuilding the curriculum based on this needs at the local, hyper-local level, where the students and faculty and parents advised us of what they wanted to learn. And they basically want to learn can we get out of town before the next hurricane hits, so we're not floating in the water or being rescued from the roof with the helicopter? How can we get housing so we're not living under the viaduct in a tent right now? How can we get food so we're not selling drugs to make money to buy overpriced food from someone we pay to go up to Baton Rouge to a grocery store? So it became the Student Health Force, and then later named the Force for Health. And that's where Chicago asked us with inner city gang violence, can we do a similar program there when Obama became president in 2010, 11, and 12? But it was Josh Williams and his group of students
Excuse me.
At the Middleton Elementary School and middle school, at the YMCA and Cohen High School, that really got things going for me with Paul Vallis as the superintendent. Our kids there, some of those kids you saw, Lucy, they became the health ed teachers for the whole city. For the whole city. They became.
We should do a "Where Are They Now" segment. That would be interesting to look back and just kind of see what these experiences propelled them into.
We should. I know that there is at least one Gates Scholar who went to medical school. I know there's at least a pharmacy tech and a pharmacist, social worker, teacher. I've just with privacy, I haven't kept track of all of their names and identifications. So it'd be hard to do that. But I think it could be kind of fun to find a couple and do a "Where Are They Now" and what memories do they have of that time. Josh Williams, our Advance the Dream partner with his team, is the constant connection over these last 17 years as we've continued to do programs together with his after-school programs and folks at Dillard and at Xavier University down there.
Well, I think that this was an interesting hour with, celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, of course, with some healthy messages, looking at coaching tips for somebody that is going through surgery or has just had surgery, whether it's for you or whether it's for a family member, giving homage to just kindness, right? Your housekeeper at the hospital, cleaner at Mayo, a little kindness goes a long way. And then really within the last 3 weeks, with the anniversaries of these major things happening, like September 11th, we talked about on last week's show. And we gave met some really wonderful New York Police Department folks and some Tucson Fire Department folks as we leaned into 9/11 a little bit, reflected back, and really honored our first responders. Leaning into next week, we launched a new weekly broadcast called My Healthy Arizona Fit Family, My Healthy Arizona Fit Friday Community Chat. We're in the process of actually activating states into the Reality Health Games. On August 31st, about a week and a half ago, we activated Tucson, and actually we activated the whole state. My partner and I, Denise, held a ribbon cutting up in Phoenix, and she's responsible for the blue counties in northern Arizona. She's the coach. And then I activated with my Tucson Metro Chamber and the Tucson Hispanic Chamber, because business leaders play a role to bring together leaders from the business, public, educational, healthcare sectors to all come together to be on the same page for population health issues and better outcomes for all is really what it's all about. So I wanted to just kind of mention that. That will be on Fridays. You will from 1 to 2 Pacific time. If you're interested in population health issues within the state of Arizona, feel free to join us. One of my favorite pictures from that event was this picture down here. Just a small gathering, but pretty impactful. We were able to get state director. There's a really interesting science celebration project called the Arizona SciTech Institute. They celebrate science for several months throughout the year, and they have a global chief science officer program now that helps high schoolers be better science ambassadors. And so we are going to partner with them. And so this is Tom. He's in charge of that for the Southern Arizona Hub. We've got Andy Heineman in there in the middle. Tucson is very lucky to have a nonprofit that raises money from the business sector to help support teachers. So that's wonderful. And then the third gentleman right next to me is the deputy director of Pima County. And Pima County is a market of about 1 million people. He spent some time as a school superintendent in one of our very successful school districts down here, but now he is on the public sector representing Pima County. So anytime somebody comes out of their way, goes out of their way to show up and support initiatives like this, I just want to be grateful and kind of help set the tone. And as we lean in towards Pennsylvania later this month, right, we will be activating with several partners there, the Center County Chamber of Commerce, Hometown Sports, which is a really cool magazine that actually publishes about 28,000 issues across 5 counties out there. Of course, we've got our Ben Franklin Texcelerator partners that will come to play, or we're going to drag them to play. And then a couple cool partners like C3 Educational Co-op. And Tracy's been really great. She's actually coined as our very first STEAM team into the Reality Health Games. So that's what's coming up, right? We're going to slowly and continuously and passionately and professionally and persistently continue telling this message that population health is a team sport. Whether you're an individual, a parent, a leader, or a nonprofit, or a senior, you got to step up to the plate and know how to take care of yourself first, make that effort, and then leave it to us and others to challenge the leaders if there are inequities, disparities, and hopefully we can come together in the end so we can all be a better force for health and better protect the gift of life and health for everybody. Those are my final words today, this week. Rob, how would you like to?
Well, I think the dog needs to go out, but that's
there you go.
I think that's fine. It's a perfect ending. I think from my standpoint, my final words is with that health literacy, with working on your own health, be part of this in your own health literacy and knowledge and your own health leadership. Be part of the solution, not part of the problem. I want to regain my health so I can once again not be a burden, but be an asset to my community and my family. So get in as good a shape as possible, be as smart as possible before you get sick, and then work hard to recover. All right. Thanks for your attention today, folks. See you next week.
Thank you. You can go to www.theforceforhealth.com. Get started for free. Upgrade for less than $1 a week with all of our tools, and just get involved. Be a force for health, and signing off. We'll see you next week.